We're live on Facebook. I'm sitting here talking to Mr. Tom Mower. He's the president and co-founder of Sizzle International. Tom, welcome to the call.
Thanks, Doc. Glad to be on.
FedEx came to my office and they delivered a new book. It's a medical textbook that I got. It's called Nutrition and Integrative Medicine for Clinicians. Chapters and chapters on anti-aging medicine. I just wanted to read this, and they say function preservation essentially means preserving the function of living things and preventing it from declining into dysfunction. Anti-aging refers to the slowing of the process of aging, where the organs deteriorate at a much slower rate. And then they go into, like, they have a whole section on NAD and CERT1, and they talk about supplementation, and it's looks like it's a good book. I just was paging through it. Isn't that cool that they're teaching that at medical school?
Yeah, that really is, because they do a lot of research. And one thing about most prescription drugs, they're first found in nature, and then they have to make a synthetic molecule because it's illegal to patent the natural one. So they do all of this work, and then they try to find something synthetic, usually with all the side effects it has, where the real natural product works even better with no bad side effects, only good effects.
Right.
I'm glad to see them putting it out, because those kinds of things that they're talking about, we can redeem and correct and give it to people in a way that they can understand it and they get their hands on it. They don't have to go through the horrible expense of paying for prescription drugs or going to doctors and getting all this kind of thing. But it'll be, before any of this is out, it'll be 13 years it takes to get a new drug approval. I don't think one company has submitted anything on some of these things we're talking about, particularly NAD. So $2 billion in 13 years from now, it might come out. But by that time, we'll have made so many evolutionary changes, it won't be even considered in what we've been able to do. And right now, what I wanted to talk to everybody about was on last week, and I couldn't get through everything. But I had a couple of other ideas that were so powerful, and perhaps they're certainly pertinent, but perhaps not right now, but it's things that are going to be coming up very quickly. First of all, hydrogen powder, our diatomic hydrogen water that we create out of they call it the Sizzle H2 stick, S-T-I-K, and with it, you can put it into some water. I know you've seen, you've already done a curve with a bottle and experimented with that. And you just watch it react within the bottle. It's really quite amazing. And then about anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how long you want to leave it in, and you can shake it up a little bit. You should fill it up all the way to the top with water. And then you've released huge amounts of hydrogen and huge amounts of oxygen. See, water is made up of 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen molecule. When you split them, oxygen finds another one in pairs. So now you got O2 and you got H2, and they're both gases. They're gases where in water they're liquid, but when you separate them, they form the gas. Well, and that's one of the things that happens at the bottle is you'll see it expand, because a gas takes up 4 or 5 times the volume that water does. So as that builds up, you know it's working, because you see the bottle starting to expand. And I had a bottle that I tried yesterday, which I'm taking the H2 powder every day now. I tried it yesterday, and I filled it clear up to the top. I put the product in, then topped it off so there was no head space left at the top of the bottle, because that's important, because hydrogen is lighter than water and can go up there. So you want to keep it immersed in the water until you drink it. And so I gave it about 15 minutes, because I want to see how you let it maximize. And in 5 minutes you got a lot, but 15 minutes you really got a lot. But a lot of people can't wait 15 minutes. So anyway, but either way, you've got powerful hydrogen. But I looked at the bottle, and there was a big headspace in it. Really a big headspace.
Right.
And I thought, I can't understand that. So then when I picked it up, I found it was very cheap plastic, and literally the pressure of the hydrogen dioxide and the oxygen had expanded the size of the bottle, expanded it to where there was now a big headspace that was in it. And so you want to make sure you put it in a bottle that, it's fairly rigid. You're better off doing that if you can do it. And you could do a refillable bottle if you wanted. But anyway, get one with better plastic. Or if you want to demonstrate it, get one with the cheaper plastic, because pretty soon, within just minutes, it starts getting, you can hear it crinkling as it's getting pushed out. And the power of the hydrogen, which is the energy from the sun, is right there at your fingertips. You're about to drink it. And this is what makes all life on Earth possible, and every biological function you have in your body is really based upon that. So it's quite a thing where you can take the sachet with it, and if you have a glass of water, that's half the volume, so you use half a sachet, and it folds over. And if you're doing a regular bottle, just dump the whole thing in, and you'll get huge amounts of hydrogen and oxygen in your body, and they do remarkable things. Now, I posted quite a few things on Facebook about it, and one of them is 27 reasons why you should use hydrogen water. And that was done by an independent third party, so it was very nice to have that kind of information, which was all correct. So I reposted it, but they're not a company that manufactures it, just a company involved in research making these, making a publication. But we are a company that manufactures, and we're just about ready to go. So before Christmas, we're going to have it out. So we're only going to do 5,000 bottles. So it's first come, first serve. The problem we're only going to do 5,000 is some of these ingredients in it are so new, they have to be specially manufactured. They're not in stock. They have to be manufactured for us. So the first time we did the fastest they could get to us. Now they're doing big batches from then on, but there may be a break where we're out of stock until the second batch gets done. So buy all you want, and good until gone with it. Now, I talked about all of that on the call yesterday, but today I want to talk about a couple of concepts which are extremely important. In fact, there's three of them that I'm going to discuss today, and it has to do with senescence, which is the cells as they become dormant because they're wearing out, shutting down, and also on senolytics, which is a whole new biochemistry that has just been, the Mayo Clinic's done quite a bit of work on it, just becoming available now. I'll discuss that. And then the other is epigenetics. So those are three big categories. Now, if you want to know how they spell, senolytics is SENOLITICS. Epigenetics is EPIGENETICS. Okay, so we'll talk about epigenetics first, because what happens within our body and our processes is really that our lifestyle and the environmental influence we have affect the human genome. Now they've mapped the genome, we can see what's happening, which is amazing discovery when they even did that. Now scientists have had so much, we can look at things specifically, not all things, but many of these, and find some tremendous things out about it. In fact, is within the human genome, there's a mechanism that regulates gene expression, and if the biological balance is disturbed, it accelerates aging. So here's what happens. You have a DNA, and there's a couple of things that happen to a DNA. It can get mutated, and usually quite easy. With it, smoking is really bad. Every 15 cigarettes a person smokes, they get one mutagenic break in their DNA. So you can see why people have a real problem with that, with smoking. But with that, you can take and actually look at the human genome and see that it is not functioning. Scientists can see. You can't, but scientists can see it. It's not functioning right. And what they found out was happening is the DNA was still there, but it gets, because of the processes they're going through it with the genes get shut down. And when they get shut down, then they can't express themselves the way they should. Now, there's different factors of why they do that. Methylation is one of the big ones. But it really shuts them down. So here you have perfectly normal genes and DNA, but it's not, because it's been altered by products from our lifestyle or from our environmental influences that we have. So in doing that, it shuts them down, and then so the aging process accelerates much more rapidly. That's especially pronounced in the skin because it's exposed to so much ultraviolet, infrared, and visible light that it gets damaged severely, and many of the structures within it are caramelized, and some of them are collapsed and crystallized, and unlike other parts of your body, it's much more damaged in your skin because it's just so exposed. So that's why you see wrinkles on the face, and women that, because their neckline, they'll have a chest that'll have all kinds of discoloration, pigmentation. Hands and arms look really poor, and those are all factors. Many of them are done by free radical damage, which is what UV does, but others are inhibited with epigenetics, or they can be so damaged that epigenetics cannot work within it. So in our discoveries, what we've been doing is looking for a way, because we've got the age pill, which is just raging right now, and we just want to do everything better and better. And with the age pill, we've changed formulation 4 times now. We're going to change it another time. You'll be just shocked when you see the next one we're going to do. I don't know how long it'll be out. It's taking a while. We're months away. But when you see the next one, it's going to really surprise you with what it can do. So anyway, there's other aspects. So the age pill certainly works on the stem cell, which is a factory that produces the replacement cells your body uses up. And aging is nothing but decay and degeneration. It's not a matter of physics. It's not a matter of biology. It's actually a matter of physics. So that's why we age, is because of physics. We are degenerating and decaying. So if we can end the decay and we can regenerate more cells than we lose every day, then we're going to get healthier and actually, in theory, grow younger. Animal studies have shown all that to happen. We have a longer lifespan, but it really can't happen. You can start seeing it fairly fast in your life. But in order to make a stem cell work well, you have to understand this has a lifetime, because since you were a baby, that stem cell has been working, and by the time you're 40, 50, 60 years old, they're really 60, they're about worn out. And so if you consider that by the time you're 18, you've lost 20% of your stem cell activity. It's 20% senescent. In other words, they've gone dormant because they just exhausted themselves. They're also coated with plaque and cellular garbage that's built up in them, so they're non-functional. They shut down, but they don't die. That's a very important thing to note with what we're going to be talking about next with it. So then by the time you're 30, you've lost 40%. And by the time you're 40, you've lost 60%. So you're only 40% active and 60% senescent or dormant with it. And by the time you're 60, you're down to between 2 and 5%. So you can see why people waste away. It's just they have no other choice because their stem cells are wearing out. The decay and the degeneration, which is a matter of physics, has occurred in your body. So we're going to address all of these like no other company ever has. Like medicine is just looking at now. We're going to be doing today is many of the things we're talking about. And so as a consequence, it takes about 13 years and about $2 billion to get a new drug out. But since they're mostly based on what they can find in nature, and then they try to find a synthetic molecule they can patent, we take that research they've done in nature and we see if we can get that ingredient manufactured or extracted in some way so it can do it. So that's what we've done. So now what we're doing is with the epigenetics, and we're talking about senescence, we're going that next, but with epigenetics, what we're doing, it's really a study of gene activity, which are really changed by the DNA and the way that the genes effects occur. And some of the changes in the genetic activity in a cell's life is slow, subtle, but it greatly accelerates aging. And so we have found that while it gets bound with different compounds from our environment or our lifestyle, what we eat, and the genes on some of the DNA will get so they're inhibited. We found compounds now that you can you can take, and they support. That's what we have to say, support, because the medical establishment and FDA are ravenous if you're making a drug claim, and we can't do that. So it supports the body so that it has its own mechanism anyway to clean up and repolish, so to speak, the genes and the DNA. That'll make a significant difference in gene expression. If you can't express the gene, then even though it's not damaged, but it's coded or something like that or blocked, then you've got rapid aging, accelerating aging. So what we're able to do is we found compounds that will come in now, one in particular, that will go through and it will just like polish it up to where it's very functional. It supports the body to do that. So the ingredient doesn't do it, but it supports the body to do it. And so with that, we can do that. The other thing it causes, which is really interesting, is that as these cells, as stem cells start wearing down, and as they get damaged from environmental attack and all kinds of things like that, you accumulate a couple of things that happen. Number one, your rate of activity is going down. So if you're 40 years old, you're only 60% of what you were for biological activity when you're in your teens, see? So you lost 60%. And by 60, you've lost 95 to 98% of your activity. You're only 2 to 5% active. That's why people waste away and do that type of thing. And what happens is it's because the cells become dormant. Senescence is what they call it. You have a senescent cell, and it just wears out. It gets accumulated with garbage. It gets oxidized and coated with glycation plaque and all those things inside, and it just slowly goes down. So as it's going down, you might have a certain percent of activity, but the stem cell might be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% down over a period of time to where they get down to where it's nothing. And now they're just dormant. They're a senescent cell. They have become dormant. And here's the big problem with that. You've got all of these, you got about, 400 trillion cells in your, or 40 trillion cells in your body, and you have lots of stem cells, but you don't get new stem cells. So the ones that are there. And so as a consequence, when the stem cells start to become senescent, then you have much less biological activity. So it makes sense. So you can see why that's so important. Well, senescence in stem cells is bad for the body, and the body has a mechanism called apoptosis that it can kill stem cells itself, just like apoptosis is how they kill cancer cells. And so what they've done, researcher, and this is pretty good research that came in from what was that? Forgetting the name of it, but anyway, from a large institution. And with that, what they found that senescence is in the cell, it wants to be destroyed, so it starts emitting fluids into the system. And they found out that cells have all kinds of connections between each other, and they're communicating with the brain, they're communicating with each other. And this research I'm talking about has come out of the Mayo Clinic, so it's pretty, it's credible. So with that, as these compounds are exuded, they're supposed to identify the stem cell to the immune system, to the killer cells, the T cells, the macrophages that come in, and they'll come in and trigger apoptosis, so the cell dies, and then it can be consumed by it and removed from the body. But that works really good when we're young. But as we get older, our immune system gets dulled. It gets way down. Epigenetics work havoc on the immune system. And so now many of the senescent cells that are just there, if they could be removed, then if a bud would sprout a new one up. So how would you like, if you're 40% down, how'd you like 40% of them return to where they were? That's a lot. How about 60%? That's the kind of thing we're talking about as a possibility with this, by supporting the body in this way. So as this signal goes out, it's also what they call oxidative stress, which you may not know what that is, but oxidative means like rusting. It's like oxidation. And it's the most deadly form of aging there is, and also causes mutations and cancers and things of that nature. So with doing that, we have been looking at a very interesting compound. And this compound is one that I actually used at my previous company before, but not for this particular purpose, although some of it carried over into it. But the mechanism is, as I said, in senolytics, which is really senolytics is really the study of the process of aging, and it's spelled Senolitics. So senolytics is the mechanism of which you can try and restore the functionality of a cell, but it's the key factor in the aging process is cellular senescence, so or the aging of the cells are the key thing. So when it enters that stage, it's unable to divide. Basically, when that happens, it releases these inflammatory signals that prompt the immune system to clean out the damaged cell. In other words, create apoptosis and die. Well, now you have another thing going on in your body. We all have cancer cells in our body. Everybody does. It's just that when you get so many, perhaps, and your immune system is so damaged and poor, you can't kill them as faster than they're growing, then they may start to develop into a tumor with that. And cancer cells are very good at avoiding detection from killer cells and T cells. And while they're there to kill it and do it, they lose their sense of smell, so to speak. And they can't, they pass by cancers they should be attacking, and they can't identify them because they're just getting worn out with that. So anyway, if you have a cancer cell, and they're trying to do treatments in some hospitals now to do it, and some research centers, to try to trigger apoptosis or cellular death of cancer cell. And if you can do that, there are many compounds that can do that. Resveratrol, Frecoitin can do it, for example. Chaga, very good at it. And a number of other things I could name what they were. Curcuminoid's particularly good. But anyway, with that, there's natural ingredients that will work to support the apoptotic process so the cells can be triggered and go down and be cleaned up by the immune system. So scientists just recently have discovered that this link between cancer cells and senescent cells can be handled the same way through apoptosis. So they've discovered, and this is really the thing that's amazing, they've discovered a compound. This compound, in theory, we have to hypothesize on this right now, this compound, if you took it every day, it's actually safe. It's from a food source, but it's very concentrated, and it's an extract from it that's specific, but still natural and very powerful. Doesn't affect any of your regular cells, but it supports apoptosis in cancer cells and in stem cells. Now, when cancer cells are gone, great, they're gone. When stem cells are gone, but if they're senescent, it makes no difference. But the one thing we found that they have create apoptosis in it, and it's the senescent stem cell is devoured, cleaned up. It has a bud, and it'll actually produce a new young stem cell. So that stem cell will suddenly, they'll be popping up all over if you had something like this. So think of this, theorize this in your mind. Suppose you take the compound and it killed virtually most or all of the cancer cells in your body every single day. You took it with it, and it cleaned up the senescent cells, and those are becoming senescent. We would fight to get those back with the age pill, which has the precursor for doing just exactly that. For the ones that become dormant, eliminate them, spring up a new one, and your whole body can be revitalized with this. So here's a really interesting connection between old, worn-out cells that are dormant and cancer cells. Apoptosis is the key, and they found the compound that can do that. There's two, actually, and we're going to put them together. Nothing's out in science or nature. They'll probably try to make a drug out of it. but we've already got the science. It's well proven, and so we're moving on getting those ingredients so that we can formulate a new product with doing it. So now we're on to a point where we can really create some health. The important thing to do is first is get rid of the damage and then restore, regenerate, and our products support all of that. So you have all of that going, and then you come into really the senolytics part of this. And in the senolytics, it's revolutionary. It's a major breakthrough, and scientists have been saying for a long time, what are you going to do about all the dormant stem cells? Because they are leaking, they're communicating, they're trying to communicate with the T cells to come in and trigger apoptosis and devour them, but the stem cells, the T cells, the immune system is dulled down and not efficient, it's worn out, and so they don't identify a lot of it. So those cells that are leaking take good cells and also start triggering them into becoming senescent too. So it just builds up. So if you got a lot of senescent cells in your body, you're exuding lots of harmful ingredients, particularly the free radical molecule that's there for oxidative stress. So here's the product. Just think of this. You took it every day, and the cancer cells went away, and the old stem cells were removed and replaced with young, viable stem cells. Wouldn't that be an amazing product? Well, we're working on that. We're going to have to say it the right way, because we have to say it supports the body's ability to do it. If you say it actually does a structure function claim, that makes it a drug. So we'll say it the right way for you, so you know that, and we can do that. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about, if we can step into epigenetics a little bit, is when you have things like sunlight damage on skin, it really is beyond repair. You can do a lot of things. We've done quite a bit of transfusion because some of those things can be done. Not all of it can be done. And the nice thing about epigenetics is they can study the genome within certain pieces of the DNA, and in that they can determine what the issues are that are being blocked or inhibited, and then they can, the theory is, and then allowing the body system to come in and clean them up. So with your skin, it becomes caramelized, sugared. So sugar is a very bad thing, and it's not because I'm a sugar fanatic. I'm not, but it is what it is. And sugaring is what causes glycation buildup in all your cells, stem cells especially, and it also happens in your skin cells. And because it's so damaged there, it hardens up. Well, it's like molasses, and then it caramelizes and hardens. And all your structures in it get impeded, shut down, blocked with that. Well, now there's an array in epigenetics. They know what the different things are. A lot of things crystallize, proteins will be split, destroyed, or split and damaged, and then they form a scar tissue called the disulfide bond to kind of protect them from further damage, but their functionality is gone. So every one of these aspects now through epigenetics can be determined by the gene expression that's there. And as a consequence, if you can revitalize and support the revitalization of that, you can have a tremendous effect on all parts of the body if you ingested it, but in particular in skin. So we're going to be doing some very radical things with skin, and we are certainly cutting edge right now. There's nothing like transfusion, but now it's going to look like transfusion. We're going to go on steroids. We're not going to use steroids, of course, but that's the term. And with that, we're also going to work on eye bags and crow's feet. In fact, as we found some things, eye bags are really caused by little pillows of fat that are around the eyeball. That supports it, keeps it from being damaged. But as you get older, just like a balloon that you've blown up for a birthday party and lays on the floor for a few days, a week, you see it getting down smaller and smaller and gets wrinkled and collapsing. Well, the same thing happens to these stem cells because of your biological aging and lack of stem cell activity. with it, the fat starts going down in these cells, and when it gets down to a certain point, it lets the fluids come out around the eye, and that's what an eye bag is. So if you can take a balloon off the floor and blow it up, and it's back like it was, it's back like it was. And so now we're looking at the true epigenetics and the mechanism that that's done, and we're going to be able to incorporate that into supporting the inflation of fat cells around the eye. Then we're going to go after the serious things that cause problems like crow's feet and that, and especially crepe skin and all these things that are so terrible. I think we're on the verge of making them solvable. We may not get it all, but then again, we might. We're really on the fast track with this, and no one else is looking at this. They're looking at cover-up cosmetics for the most part. Products are overhyped, underperforming. We're not looking. We're looking for real results. So you won't have any competition in this thing. It's too expensive. The companies won't buy these kind of ingredients or use them in the amounts they're supposed to. And if they're going to come out as a drug somehow, they got to find a synthetic molecule, go through 13 years of testing, spend a couple of $1 billion. By the time it's out, our information is already obsolete. There's a lot of new things that are there that we're going to be moving on. So that's what we're going to do for skin. Now we're going to do things for hair too, and we found a compound. I'm going to make you the most elegant. There's something you can do with shampoos now that it wasn't possible with some new discoveries there. We're going to make the most elegant, luxurious shampoo you've ever had in your life. And in the process, we'll have a care conditioner with it. And of course, this hair shampoo, of course, won't strip any of the structures. But hair is a real product of environment. You have chlorine in the water that goes in and damages it. You have sun. You have the pollution that's in our environment, the atmosphere. All of that damages the skin. And inside, where skin is keratin, it's a dead substance. But it's produced to be able to be flexible and it re-oils itself and does that so it can be more protective to you. But we lose that because of the products that we're using that are so damaging. And then they come through and they try to restore it with some coatings and do things like that. There's a whole new world now you can do with the hair follicle and even the hair that's been growing itself. And so we're going to put a hair conditioner in that actually through epigenetics, it has a compound that can support the pigmentation of hair. And what are we talking about? Supporting gray hair, white hair, going back to its natural color. You just have to rub it on, and if you're in the shower, leave it on for a little. Give it 5 minutes or so, and rub it down into the scalp. You'll get down in there, and that'll work it. In the meantime, what's on the hair itself will go through and have a biochemistry there that is designed to bond things together. Things that are broken and disrupted are made whole. Structures that are frayed will be smoothed, and the whole quality of the hair will improve tremendously. So that's about all I'm going to go through for the time. I've gone quite a while here today talking about it. But as you can see, we are light years ahead of anybody else. We're truly the Trekkies of MLM or practice in skincare or health care, all of those things. We are the Trekkies. We're going where no one's gone before. We're doing what no one's done before. And we have that kind of company. So now's the time to get your rear end gear. And the reason I wanted to tell you this before Christmas, sorry, and I got a lot of shopping to do, but you can get your hydrogen. But then after Christmas, we're going to roll out a bunch of products. 10X is going to be one of them. And Sizzle Rip builds muscle without exercise. Wait till you see what 10X can do. It does all that, much more on a greater scale. And it supports hormones throughout your whole body in ways that have never been seen to be done before, and all kinds of other things that we'll have a white paper on it so you can see it. But you'll be astonished how complex this formulation is and how it literally opens up things like muscle cells and that to where as you get old, when you're young, you're about 80% open, and when to take in amino acids and to rebuild muscle. But as you get older, they start closing. And then when you're down about close to 60, you're about 80% closed and about 20% open. So we have a new array of products that we're within epigenetics within that you can take, and what it will do is it will inhibit a hormone called myostatin, which is the one that causes it to close down. And so if you can inhibit it, then you can return it back to where it was when you're younger. And then with everything else, we have to revitalize the cells, the energy, all of the reconstruction that takes place with this massive support can give you a fitness program. Whether you're into fitness or not, you're going to be much more fit one way or another. You'll build muscle, burn fat faster. You'll get more firm muscles, larger if you want to, for the exercising, because your exercise will be worth 2 or 3 times more than just exercising if you're taking a whey powder and a creatine, things that are usually used in gymnasiums. Those things are okay, but not like this. This is a product that is extraordinary. You can take all those, and if it sells only 20% open or 30% open, you're not getting what you want. But if you can open up to 80%, you're going to have profound changes taking place. So all of this I didn't get to on the call the day before.
Wow.
And so I wanted to come back and explain that on a few days before. I want to come back and explain it so that you can understand and prepare. And with Christmas coming, you ought to be downloading this information, studying it the best you can, because after the first of the year, guess what? People are overweight. People are low on energy, and they're low on money, and their health from holidays and life is where it is. And you can come in and make dramatic changes, and you can talk about doing things that is utterly impossible with any other products in the world, I think, in my opinion, in many of these. And then some of these revolutionary breakthroughs, I don't even want to say the name of the compound too, but when you have something that can come in and supports the body's apoptosis on cancer cells and on senescent cells, that is stunning. It is so awesome. It's just incredible to believe that this has been done, but it has. We'll have to make our own formula, so we couldn't make claims of the ingredients, but we'll have the ingredients on the back page, and you can read. You have the right to read what the science is and go from there. So anyway, I'll finish up. That's my message that I wanted to give you for today, so you can start learning on it. You need to listen to this tape and listen to the other tape I did on the Wake Up with Sizzle call and learn this terminology. Not so you become an expert. You don't need to be a little Tom. What you need to be is a good marketer who takes the bullet points, understands the concepts, and sells benefits, not features. And that's the way to becoming very, very successful. So I wanted to pass this on. So for those of you, and there are a lot of you out there that are very ambitious and working, building very hard, you've got tools before you that no one has ever seen before, concepts that have been utterly science fiction or imagination with it, and now they're reality, and you have no competition with most of these, little or none, and virtually none in many of them, and that's where we're at. So this is your moment in time. This is the time to really shine and build the kind of future that you deserve. You can become a lot healthier. That's not so difficult, these products. You can become more prosperous, because how many people want this kind of product? Lots do. And of course, you can be happier too. So health, wealth, happiness, there are 3 big keys that we want to provide for, and our company has done all of that, from compensation plan to products to support materials in need. But it's all been done for you. You're the most important part of it. So get your rear in gear and really get ready. Do as much as you can before Christmas. Make it a Sizzle Christmas. Give people Sizzle products for Christmas. And isn't that revolutionary today? And they get using them and understand what they're doing. Well, you build customers that way. But come out and be ready for the first of the year. And even before then, because we're going to bring hydrogen out. Our target date is the 21st, so that's darn close. So get ready to go, because here we come. Here comes Sizzle. Ready, set, go. That's where we're at.
You bet.
Thanks for getting into this. I appreciate it, Kurt.
You bet, Tom. One of the things that I was going to talk about is that, a lot of companies are trying to copy what you're doing. They're trying to copy the compensation plan. And, they dabble. They put a little sprinkling of something in. They say, oh, we got that too. And, really, when you start looking at it, they're not even close to what we have.
That's really true. I just analyzed a little while ago one of the big name brand products. It wasn't Estee Lauder. so I can tell you it wasn't them, but it was just as big a name as they are. And it was a Ringo product that sold for $340. And the formulation in a scientific journal had been published on what they're using. And I took a look at that, and I looked at some of the ingredients, and as a researcher, I thought there's not adequate amounts of this in there to do anything except you can make claims on it, but you haven't got enough products to do it. It's like putting an eyedropper of gasoline in an empty tank and expecting to drive on the trip. So I analyzed it and saw that there was nothing of any efficacious value. It wasn't effective, wasn't concentrated enough, didn't have enough to do it, but it had a lot of things that were great for advertising. And then I put the pencil to it, and I researched those ingredients and used them in what they did. They have a 1 ounce bottle of it for $340, and it cost 87 cents to make.
Holy crap.
So that's what we're talking about, and that's true in dietary supplements. And geez, you look at when the FDA went in and rated all those, and they took the top 200 selling products in the marketplace, all Walmart and Walgreens and GNC and lots of other places, and they found not one single one of all the dietary supplements in the stores, in the health food stores, not a single one had enough of an active ingredient to be considered a therapeutic dose. That's 100% failure rate. Sure, they have some things and they say some, but it just doesn't work out that way. So our company is, like I say, light years ahead of anybody else. But I'll turn time back to you, Kurt. I'll go on forever.
Well, Tom, I sure appreciate you jumping on, and I know everybody appreciates hearing your knowledge, and we'll get this out. We'll get this message out to everybody, you know, to you and the rest of the Mowers and everybody there at Sizzle. Merry Christmas to all of you.
And Merry Christmas to all of you. We're really hoping this will be the Christmas and the New Year that will lead to the kind of future you've always dreamed of is possible with us.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being here. Share this with everybody. Get the word out. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.